anymore, right? Because I think at the end of the day, Web3 is here to stay. I'm 100% Web3 is here to stay. If not, I would cut my dick off, right? I think this is definitely here to stay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
GM, Casey. Welcome to the show, everybody. What is the GM show? If you don't know about our ABCs, is Asia-focused, builder-friendly, and cool vibes only, powered by Memeland, home of captains, potatoes, MVPs, and Stakeland. And my name is Karen. I'm your co-host as well as head of social for Memeland. Hi, Casey.
Hey, how's it going, Karen? I'm Casey. Hey, I just started. I'm on Farcaster now, as well as, of course, X. So if you're on Farcaster, Warpcast, please let's chat there. We started a Memeland channel on there, plus a Hong Kong channel. Everybody knows, Karen and I love talking to founders and creators, and we're very excited to be able to bring the show to you live from the GM Show studios in Hong Kong, where each week Karen and I chat to the most exciting builders in the Web3 space.
Yeah, if you're excited to be here, show off some love on X, YouTube, and Twitch right now. We're broadcasting live. And if you want to listen to the show, we also have X Spaces audio only, so you don't need to see our faces. But yeah, there's two ways.
Yeah, but you're going to want to see our faces today. We have we have an amazing guest. And so maybe not our faces, but the guest face for sure. But before we begin, let's hear a quick word from our chairman.
What is discussed on the GM show is not investment advice. We may or may not have ownership interests in the projects we are talking about, but this is not investment advice in any way, shape, or form. And this is not Sir David Attenborough.
All right.
All right. Okay, cool. So here we go. It's a great show today. We're going to firstly ask a question to everybody. Can astronauts be black? Right? That is the question that a young boy asked that inspired the creation of Aku. Okay? And this image of the boy with the giant astronaut helmet has become more than a character and an actual representation of hopes and dreams. It was launched in February of 2021, so right in the crispy era of NFTs. But Aku has come a long way since he was introduced to the NFT ecosystem, having traversed 10 unique chapters. You know what? Let's bring this stuff up while I'm talking because it's cool to see it. He's traversed 10 unique chapters. The artwork for one Aku drop, NFT drop, was actually beamed to a server on the International Space Station before being minted on the Ethereum blockchain. All proceeds from that drop benefited educational nonprofit. Aku has been at physical exhibitions, which we saw at ComplexCon here in Hong Kong, as well as the PFP collection called Akutars, which had its own challenge launching. But we'll talk a little bit about that later. In less than a year, Aku has generated millions in sales, were everywhere from Visa to the Apple Store, and made its creator the first NFT artist to secure a major TV and film development deal. Now, he's just got the Aku avatars and just released an Aku collectible figure, which you can see here. I think it was last month, or already sold out. It comes with a NFT as well, so it's a physical thing. We'd like to talk more about that because, that's what I love. But we saw it up close and personal, this giant one, right? He's got this huge one that was there at the ComplexCon here in Hong Kong. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff. Here's some of the NFTs. Here are the Akutars. Everything, a lot of people have seen these before, really cool. Here are the chapters. So you introduce the character with these animated videos of the character. So very cool, right? It has, cool. It's like even before Miles Morales came out, right? This is like pretty cool to see all this stuff. So anyways, Karen, who is our guest today?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys follow baseball. Our guest was drafted by the Chicago White Sox in the 2012 Major League Baseball draft, and he was the 2015 opening day starter as shortstop and recorded his first major league hit in his second at bat. He played for the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Atlanta Braves, and then after multiple injuries, including a fractured wrist, our guest retired from professional baseball in 2015 to explore his hobby. So what's his hobby? He went on to pursue art, painting on canvas until the day Web3 hit him and went all in on digital with his creation, Aku and NFTs. He's been on the cover of Time magazine, featured at Disney D23 Expo, sold his work at Christie's, got his own pair of Aku Beats by Dre and Aku Starbucks Odyssey stamp, and also so much more. And he was the poster boy for the NFT craze, and now we're excited to have him as our special guest this week. Welcome to the GM Show, the creator of Aku, Micah Johnson.
What an intro. I need you to come with me wherever I go.
Whoa. Yes, I got a gig now.
Yeah, my goodness.
We're very excited. We're very excited to have you.
No, I'm excited to be on. This is great. Thanks for having me.
So first, before we get into the questions, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your visit to Hong Kong, right? You were here last month for ComplexCon. I think it was your first visit here. First of all, what did you think of Hong Kong? I mean, it was getting warm, but the vibe, the Art Basel, the ComplexCon people are all in town. What was your first impressions?
I think it's my favorite city I've ever been to, and it's not even close. The emphasis on art and culture there is really inspiring. It's everywhere, and it was really fruitful. I'm glad I did it. I went there kind of by myself. It was something that I kind of just wanted to do, and I'm really glad I did. I think I'll go down as the best decision, one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Wow, awesome. And then what do you think of ComplexCon? You've obviously been the one in the U.S., right? So I've never
been to it before. No,
you've never been to the U.S. one before. Oh, but you've been to like Art Basel's in Miami, and you know Aku's been at all these kind of big events. So what did you think of the culture scene? Because there's a lot more Asian representation here from Taiwan, Japan, Hong Kong, stuff like that. So you know what parallels do you see between the art styles between the two?
The one thing I'd really noticed, and was like the emphasis on preparation out there, like across, like from the artists to the event, like everything was really well prepared. It's almost like the output was like the 10% of it. It was like 90% was preparation. And I saw that in the art and the practices. I went to a couple shows and saw artists have sketches all over the wall of like the canvas they had, and it was like just super cool to see the process behind everything. I thought it was a really good event. It blended art along with like different brands, and that was really cool. That combination, it worked. I thought it worked perfectly. To be honest with you, I hope it continues out there.
Have you ever seen McDonald's at an art show before?
It was cool, right? Like everything, it worked really well. I was really pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, hopefully it'll be back next year, and hopefully we can get you out here sooner than that. All right, so let's get into this interview. We asked the same 20 questions to each week's guests to get some insight into their day-to-day life, what inspires them, and what lessons can they pass on to the next generation building in Web3. So Karen, what's the first question?
Yes, let's do the warm-up. What's the one app you have on your home screen that not many people do? And I'm really curious about that because we don't usually have an athlete that comes on the show.
Yeah, so it's not a sports app. It's a Truth or Dare app. Me and my daughter play Truth or Dare, and she's obsessed with Truth or Dare. So Truth or Dare app is a very often used app on my phone. We play it pretty much every day.
Cool. Okay, here's the question I want to answer. What is the book you've given most as a gift, and why? Or maybe what's your favorite book that you would give out as a gift?
Probably over time, the book I gave out the most would probably be like a devotional. I gave those out quite often, just because I just think that obviously God is an important part of my life, and giving that to people, whether they be religious or not, there is like some grounding in it, and so it's probably been the thing I give out the most.
Okay,
great. And next question is, what is something that has greatly influenced your life? And it could be a person or a movie. Yeah.
Seeing art in person. Seeing art in person has greatly influenced. I didn't really do that growing up. I wasn't immersed in art. I was always playing baseball. So getting to see art in person and being around art people, it always inspires me. It always motivates me and pushes me forward. It's like the equivalent of like me going to a Major League Baseball game as a kid. You see the best and you want to be what it takes to get to the best. And so being around that in museums and obviously experiencing that in Hong Kong at the M Plus and around Basel, like it kind of left me really inspired.
Awesome. That's good to hear. All right. Besides your smartphone, what is the one gadget or product in your life that makes it better?
I'm a very simple man. Very, very simple man. Probably my Wacom tablet to draw digitally, so I can make quick sketches and designs instead of having to use paper all the time. That's probably the one.
Okay, good to know.
That's great.
I have all these preconceptions of the answers you're going to give us from your like sports background already being shattered. So that's great.
I hope I don't disappoint, but yeah, I'm not very much into that.
Okay, so this next session is what we call the therapy session. What was an early job you had that you learned an important lesson from?
So I used to work on an organic dairy farm when I was in high school, and my mom would take me. I didn't have a driver's license in high school. I don't think I even had a cell phone in high school. So my mom would take me super early in the morning, like 4 or 5 in the morning. And I was in high school when I was doing this, and she would pick me up at the end of the day and drive me to baseball games and practices. And so the early age, it taught me, hard work. Like that was the only option. And that you could, there was no limit to how hard you could work, how hard you could push yourself. Because I was putting in these long days on the farm, milking cows, moving fences, baling hay, and then going to play, changing and smelling terrible and going to play a game. I did that all summer.
Wow. Amazing.
That's great.
All right. Here's the next question. What does a normal day look like for you? What's your daily routine? What time do you get up? What time do you work? What time do you create? What time do you relax?
Great question. I used to wake up super early, like 4 in the morning. I don't anymore. I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and they gave me this medicine that really makes it hard to sleep. I mean, hard to wake up in the morning. It's like a sleeping thing. So I wake up around like 6:37, hang out with my daughter. We have a great morning before she goes to school, especially when I'm traveling a bunch. And then I go to the studio, and it just depends on that day and the phase I'm in, whether I'm conceptualizing, operating, or creating. And if I'm in a zone, if I'm in a painting and creative zone, I make sure I have like 3 days a week where I stay late. That's pretty much from like 7 a.m. until I drop. Other days I'll come home and do the whole family thing. I really try to make sure that I have a really good balance with my family because of how it's easy to work for a long time, but having that balance and being present, I want my daughter to see that you can work hard, you can be successful monetarily, but also be present. And so that's very important. I got into Pilates too. Pilates recently too.
Pilates, yes, very good. Do you travel a lot?
Now I am. Last year I didn't. I had some things going on, so last year I didn't as much, but now I do travel a lot, and I travel a lot because I think it's very important to be in person and meet people. And so I'm very selective where I go, but if it's something like, even if it's, New York for an hour meeting, or even LA for a meeting, I'm going to do it if there's an opportunity there.
Yeah,
Great. Okay. I'm really curious about this one. What is an unusual habit that you have?
I'm a very habitual person, extremely habitual. I think it comes from the baseball days, doing the same thing every day, wearing the same thing every day. I eat the same thing every day, and no matter the temperature, I'm drinking hot coffee all day. So like the same breakfast place, the same, the same thing for lunch. I don't change that at all.
Did you have anything unusual that you did before you played a game? Like something special that you,
Yeah. I mean, like the way you put the socks on, I always wear basketball shorts underneath my
There we go.
my pants. I always needed to chew 2 pieces of bubble gum when I was batting. Not 1, not 3. It was always 2.
Nice.
Things like that. Like I was very into that.
Okay.
So it's art always been part of your life before baseball, or is it after baseball?
After there's some drawings I have that when I'm long dead and gone that maybe will be valuable, or maybe they won't. Who knows? But they were good. There's some good stuff I had when I was a little kid. And so I think it was there. I was so focused on baseball. I never did that or went down that road too aggressively. And so it's more of a after baseball thing.
Great.
Okay. Next question here. What new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life? A lot of people picked up new things during the pandemic, and that kind of helped them get through. So usually around exercise we found, but maybe something for you that's changed the way you work, the way you live your life.
Balance. And also being intentionally about being present in each moment. So if I'm like, I used to get really stressed out and when I wasn't present. So if I was with my daughter and I had emails coming through, I would try to do both. And that would create more anxiety and more stress. Or if I was at the gym and I was answering emails, it's just like when you try to multitask and that's like kind of something I've really improved on, I think, over the past year and a half. Is just that kind of intentionality.
Okay. So when you're stressed, like you're just saying that, if you multitask, what do you do and how do you relax?
I'm still looking for tips on that, to be quite honest with you. You probably should work out and you probably should do different things. I haven't figured that out because I'm more brute force at this point. If I'm overwhelmed or stressed, I just keep going. I'm going to brute force my way through that.
There's a way to relax. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Right.
I just haven't figured it out. Like, I can't just like, cut it off and not focus. I got to get through it.
What is like a hobby? Do you play video games? Is there anything like, what's your hobby? Do you read? Do you collect figures? I don't know. What can...
Man, I'm an artist, a dad, like a husband. Like, it's like, you only have so many hours. Create art, like it's not like a stressful thing. I conceptualize designs and I create. So it's like, that's kind of like a hobby, to be honest with you.
Okay, cool.
That's how I look at it, at least.
Okay, here's the next question. What is one failure you've experienced and how did you overcome it?
Well, I mean, I guess because of this being a kind of Web3 show, I think everybody knows about the Akutar launch. I think that was a major, major failure. And, overcoming that took time, more time than I realized. I think when you go through failures, there's different levels of failures you go through. One might just be like you failed at, a painting. And that's something that, you can move on from pretty quickly. But I think there's different tiers of that. And that was one that was really hard early on, though. Your body, you're kind of in shock and you're kind of in operation mode. And like, I'm a type of person that can, I have a switch, and that switch on, I can overcome anything, mentally, but the repercussions of that long term, you don't really necessarily know about because that was such a dramatic event. And so what I did to finally having to overcome that was finally just having to dig deep inside and understand, myself on a personal level and take care of myself mentally. Because your body will keep going. Like you can keep going, like your mind is going to keep going after that. But like to get better and like be able to execute again and take, take big shots and big swings again. It took me a while to get over that, like to release something or like put myself out there again. And so I think that was a major thing. But like I said, I spent a lot of time last year, really came to full fruition. Like the rubber met the road last year when I had to really come to grips with a lot of that stuff.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. What is the best investment then? If you look back, like that you have ever made, is it your money, your time, your energy, invest in yourself? Like, what were the returns?
Honestly, the best investment I ever made is putting the stuff, doing something for myself that was like putting it all on the table, like putting the chips on the table, putting yourself out there where there was consequences to that, right? Like ComplexCon was an investment that I made, building a sculpture, the booth, there was cost involved with that. And those are some of the sometimes the best investments when you, in your gut, it's right. In the gut, there's opportunity there. And I've made a few of those this year, a few of these plays that I feel like have paid off. And it's me trusting my gut, trusting in my ability to execute that, and kind of like putting it all out there. I think even if it does fail, you're going to learn from it. If you do it from an authentic perspective, right? If you go in kind of like half-ass kind of, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know, somebody told me to do this, might be a good idea. That shit ain't going to work. So going into it like that, that's kind of the best investments, is like when I always put myself out there and take that kind of leap of faith.
Great. Awesome.
So is that inspired you to do more shows this year or next year? Like, will there be more shows?
There's more things. There's more things coming that are very ambitious, but they're a result of me trusting my gut. Like I said, like looking back after the Akutar launch, you can go across the timeline. Did I release anything after that for a while? No. Like I had like, I was so timid of putting any more work out there. But I made a conscious decision at the end of last year, and I went through a lot of therapy and obviously with bipolar medication. Then I finally was like, you know what? Like I'm going to trust my gut here, and if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down doing what I feel is what in my gut, what feels authentic to me. And so towards the end of last year, around October, even when ComplexCon came on the radar, I was like, let's go get it this year. Let's not be scared about like putting yourself out there and kind of getting some deals and opportunities in place that maybe I didn't think a year ago I was ready for, or, you have these self-doubts, and now I'm shooting the email off and I'm taking the meetings and getting things done because, it's kind of where I'm at right now.
Great. Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to know this question then. Who is someone you look up to, and do you have a favorite quote from him or her? Yeah,
my dad. And his quote is, everybody wants to be a winner, especially from my grandfather. Everybody wants to be with a winner. And from my grandfather was an entrepreneur and cut from the same cloth, but always, he's going to take all the chips and bet it again and bet it again and bet it again. But that philosophy, that saying of like, everybody wants to be a winner, everybody wants to be with a winner is true. Like you don't, and what that means for me is like, when you're hot, everybody's going to be on you. Everybody's going to be, wants to be around you, wants to do deals with you, wants to, post with you, all that stuff. You can't let that get to your head, because when you're not hot, and that's going to happen, and when you go down the valley, you got to understand, like, they're not going to be rocking with you the same. And so when you're at the bottom, you can't trip on it. Like, to understand, when you get back hot, they're going to be around you again. And when you're hot, don't let it get to your head. Just stay humble and stay even keel across the board. So like, when I've had successful moments, I don't let it get to me. I just like keep moving. And then when I'm down, and I've been down, it don't bother me either. Like, people aren't hitting my line like they used to. It's like, that don't bother me. Like, I know how the world works.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective, right? Because you were in sports and now in art, so you've seen it from these two major, like, being out there a lot kind of perspectives, right? So that's interesting to hear.
Yeah, it's definitely baseball trained me really well. I was hot, and there was moments there I was the guy, and then there's moments I wasn't, and it's like, that trains you, like, to just be humble and just stay focused on what you're here to do, and do your job, and who cares who's rocking with you or not.
Yeah.
Great. Here's my favorite question. What is the one conventional wisdom that you disagree with? Because I'm sure there are so many sort of conventional wisdom about sports, or
and people have told you a lot of that stuff. Even your whole Aku thing, what the conventional wisdom is like, are there black astronauts even, right? There's like probably Like those kind of things. You have so many things to that people say that you can totally disagree with, right? Because different time, different era now.
Yeah, like conventional wisdom that I probably disagree with is that you need to put yourself out there, that you need to be loud, and that you need to be self-promoting. I'll explain that. So like we live in a world now where the loudest are the ones that are getting seen. And it's like you need to be on social media, and you need to be, as much as you're creating, you need to be promoting. As much as you're doing this, you need to do that. And I don't think that's necessarily has to be applied to everybody. Just because we live in a world where it's all digital, I think that if your work will speak for itself and people will find you. Like growing up, I didn't have a bunch of I played baseball in Indiana. There wasn't like social media at that time where I was promoting myself on social media. When you're good, they find you. When your work's good, they find you. And so my conventional wisdom is, I'm speaking from a creator's perspective, is like, you don't feel like you need to always play in the algorithm, or be sharing content all the time, or playing the game that other people you feel like are playing. Like you got to do what's authentic for you, and that will ultimately work as long as it's authentic to you. You can never post. Like they're like the major artists that don't even post, right? Like they just like, because the work speaks. And it's like, I think as a creator in a world where it's all about attention, people are gonna be like, yo, you gotta share more, you gotta talk about it, you gotta boast yourself up. I'm chilling. Like I mind my business. I don't want to post on social media. I don't want to like go brag about what I'm doing. I just want to work. And here's the work, and here's the work, and here's the work. And so that's kind of my thing I disagree with, is that artists need to be always on and communicating and stuff.
Yeah.
That is a great answer, because there's so many competition now that I feel like authenticity is overlooked. Are we being true to ourselves, right? I think that's very important for an artist and for someone that's in that space.
Yeah. Like if I wanted to be a content creator, I would have been a content creator. If I was good at that, that's what I would have done. I'm not. I can't sit there on your guys' side and do what you guys do. I can't. Like it's not. If I did that, people are like, oh, that guy's that's not authentic, or I can't be making like, things that, and that took me a while to realize. You try to do it, and you do dabble in it, but then it finally just like, this is miserable for me, because it's not even resonating with the audience, because they know that's not who I am. And so it's not authentic. And so I think creators need to just be okay with, maybe you're not going to get a bunch of likes on your pictures, or you might not get a bunch of attention on social media. So what? Like I think I've had the same followers. I don't know, but I think I've had the same followers on Twitter since I played baseball. Like the same. Like I've done some cool shit since then.
Yeah.
But I think I have the same, because like it's not natural for me to go tweet. It takes me like a day to post a tweet. Like I get so psychological about it. And I'm like, but I've been successful as an artist. It hasn't limited my opportunities. I've worked with, even this year, I've worked with amazing brands from like Boss or True Religion. It's not hindering me from doing deals with Visa or Starbucks to be on content and creating content. It's not, it's because I'm letting the work talk,
Yeah. It's definitely a personality thing to fit into the social media, or else like we're all going to be TikTokers, but we're not.
You can't. It's not a thing. You don't have to. Yeah. I think, I'm sorry to get on this tangent on this, because I'm very passionate about this question here. Even in like the Web3 space, it's all about being on Twitter, always about communicating and engaging. And that's like the game, and like, that's how you bring attention to your project and all that. And I'm like, well, sure. But transversely, Web3 also creates a symbiotic relationship with the community. They can be the mouthpiece for you if you're not comfortable with that. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of Web3, is like, they can speak for the work, and they can speak for what you're outputting, and that's going to benefit the whole ecosystem. Right. Yeah. And so like, that's kind of my thing, is like, that's why I love Web3 so much, because it does allow for somebody like me, who's very introverted when it comes to talking about what I'm doing or sharing about what I'm doing, to have a community speaking on my behalf and being that awareness piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Definitely see like different communities, or like the members like do these summaries of town halls and announcements and stuff like that. So you don't have to do that so much. But I guess when Ray goes out there and communicates something funny or whatever, it's on brand, and people just love it, and they get inspired by it. But I want to, since you were on this topic, I do want to ask you, like, how important is social media to like an athlete, right? Because you're like a member of especially baseball, you're a member of a team, do you know, not like a tennis player or, you know, somebody who's a solo athlete. How important is social media to baseball players to keep their, do they have to like build a fan base as well? Is it very similar to like, even movie stars? They don't really tweet either, right? They don't tweet about their life. Maybe musicians do, but not movie actors.
It's a great question. It's a great question because there is opportunity, right? Not every athlete is making Shohei Ohtani money, right? Most of the athletes are like me who are just making minimum or like, you know, in the minor leagues, not making anything, right? So you do have a window to create a platform around what you're doing. But again, if it's not authentic to you, it's not going to resonate. It's not going to resonate with the fan base that you're trying to reach anyways. And so it has to be authentic to you. Like for me, I never did it, right? I could have used the money. I probably could have used a couple $1,000s for a post and all that, but it just never resonated with me. And I was okay with that. You got to be, if an athlete has to be okay saying, hey, I'm going to miss out on some off the field dollars. But you know, that's okay with me.
Yeah, I think it's good that, you know, you're comfortable with your skin, and that also translates into the content. And I think it's good that, you know, we're in a decentralized community. We outsource the marketing team to our community, so that's a good environment for us.
That's right.
That's cool. All right, next question. I like this question a lot. You know, you were in the whirlwind of everything in 2021. So, but 2024 is a totally different market space now, right? So, what is one piece of advice you would give to a first-time founder to wanting to launch something in Web3?
It got to be something that it goes back to that word authentic. It got to be something that you're going to do with or without Web3. You're going to do with or without money. You're going to do it, you know, with or without fame or attention. Because specifically in Web3, the pressure's immense when you do anything in that space. And so, there's no like end date. There's no like, hey, like the project's going to close on this day, like guys, you know, no, you're putting yourself out there with the understanding that you're going to be doing this for a while. And so my advice would just be do what is authentic to you and what works for you. Maybe you're a great operator and you can scale a team and manage a team of 100 people. Maybe that's you. Maybe you're better off as a lone wolf, as just a creator or just as an artist. Then do that. Because I've done both. Like I've scaled a massive team. Right now I'm packaging and shipping stuff, and you saw me by myself in Hong Kong. Like I'm on that small team, but at the same time I'm more effective than I've ever been now than I had that team, because that's just me knowing myself. You know, there's people out there that can manage a massive team. I'm not that guy. And that would be my advice for any founders. Don't listen to the noise. Don't listen to what people should tell you how you should run your business, because at the end of the day, they have an opportunity to leave at any moment, and they can wipe their hands from it and go do something else. You don't. You're stuck with this. So do what you're going to do. If you're in the ship going to go down, let it go down how you plan on having it go down. Don't let someone else dictate how it's going to go down. And that's that's my advice.
Wow. I love this answer. It's like a prep talk for the builders. This is definitely going into the highlights. The next question is, what's the worst piece of advice you ever received? So as an athlete or as a founder, a builder, a creator, I'm sure you've heard something that you're like, you know what? I don't buy it.
Yeah. I mean, as an athlete, there wasn't really any bad advice. It was always coaching. You might have a coaching style you like or don't like. You don't have to rock with it. You're going to be able to go out on the field and perform. You don't have to do it as long as you're performing. So that's that's the big difference about sports. You have control in game situations to prove that your way works. But the worst piece of advice I've ever received is just outside of the sports world, in the business and creative world, is anybody's advice that had nothing, that wasn't in my shoes, to be quite honest with you. Like, because you got to understand, like you have, people are people will be people, and people will be highly successful or fail being them, how they are. Right. And so there's a lot in Web3, there's a lot of access to you. and in the world nowadays in general, I don't think anything is specifically unique to Web3. People have access to you, meaning they can have DM you, text you, hit you in Discord with advice, right? But at the end of the day, it goes back to what I was saying, is like, unless they're sitting beside you 24/7, that advice might not be the best advice for you. Like, that might not be like someone saying, hey, this project's doing this, you should probably do that. Well, you're not sitting here. You don't understand that there's variables here, right? Like, you don't understand how my day's not even structured like that. You know, my team's not even structured like that. So I think any advice you kind of got to take with a grain of salt. And I'm always very careful nowadays with kind of the advice I get, because again, in the end of the day, the most important part, people can walk away, people can wipe their hands and go do something else. You don't. So I'm kind of skeptical on advice right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I think these days with DMs and Discord, you're harassed with these advice every day. So you need to like sort of manage like what do you want to do with those things? Like, do you ignore the voices, or can you take some advice, or
it's right, and it depends on your level, where you're at mentally. You could be in a mode where you're receptive to it and you can parse through that and say, okay, actually, I like that. And I do that. Like, I'm very accessible. Like, I'm always in Discord. I'm always engaging and I'm reading everything. But there's times where I can't consume that because it does give me a bunch of anxiety. And you can try to do that just to that is a good idea. And you go do that and it throws you off the path. Now where you were going is delayed 2 months, 3 months, 6 months because you tried that thing and didn't work. So you got to be very careful and understand your mindset when you're going in and taking advice. Like, right where I'm at right now, I'm so locked in. Like, I'm so in the zone that like there's nothing else. Like, you can tell me, hey man, I got this opportunity to go do this thing. And I'm like, bro, I'm not even on that wavelength right now. Like, I can shut that off right away right now.
Awesome.
Okay, by this time we get to this point, Karen and I can usually guess the answer for the next question. Let's see if we're right. Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, or Elon Musk? Why?
I think they're all fascinating human beings. I mean, like, you know how hard it is to run a business, especially a business at that kind of scale. I can't pick. Like, I think they're all like in the same bucket. Like, managing 3 people is extremely hard. Managing a massive amount of people, like, my brain can't even fathom what that is like. And also innovating at the same time. I will say, I'll be brief on it. Actually, I think Elon understands the game really well in a modern day, what it likes to be a CEO, a founder. He understands the way the world works today, and it's very impressive. Bezos obviously has a massive ability to understand infrastructure and operational skills. That is really, really impressive. And Steve Jobs, from just imagination and creative and forward thinking ability to see the future, is equally as impressive. All the other things I mentioned.
So no clear winner, no clear choice on that. Because basically you described exactly that question. The question is, which of these guys do you resonate mostly with? And you explained exactly that. So you like pieces of each of them, but not one of them more than the other.
Yeah, no, I can't. I think I think they're super dope. I mean, like, what they've done is, you can't say it's not cool. You can't say it's not impressive.
Okay, good.
All right. So let's get into the Web3 side. When you look back, what got you into Web3? Is it after baseball or during baseball that you get into crypto? Like, how do you even hear about this?
I got into Web3. I got into crypto because I was broke after baseball. I was like, spent a few years not selling any art. I've learned about like cryptocurrency. I think it might have been XRP was the gateway drug. And then I went and found like crypto art. So this was late 2019 when I first started like really getting into it, and minted my first piece on Super Rare in like, I think maybe February or January of 2020. And that's how I got onboarded into it. A lot of conversations in Discord, a lot of Twitter DMs. Back then, obviously, the crypto art space was very small, and we were all kind of in it together, trying to just grow it ourselves and just support each other from a collectors and artist perspective. It was very, very tight knit. And the reception of people, and the way that people kind of communicated with me and gave me knowledge and information and game was really inspiring, especially as I was trying to hustle in the real world. I wasn't really, I didn't really understand that world as much. I can kind of create my own lane in here, and that's kind of got me into it.
Right.
And then, well, that's great because you're just a year ahead of it. And then Beeple happens, right? And then you're kind of like validated. All the artists are like, who are already in it, are like, whoa, this is like the touchstone moment for that industry, right?
Kind of happened overnight, if you really think about it. I released Sovereignty in November of 2020. I believe at that time, I don't remember the exact ETH amount, but I think it sold for like $120,000, right? That was like November. And NBC News covered it. And it was like a big deal. Like it was on the billboards in LA. But then Beeple came a few weeks later after that. And like I said, it kind of happened overnight. Like my thing, it didn't really catch like the wavelengths of like what Beeple did. But it caught attention. Obviously, it was great for me and my family, obviously. And I think that work is one of my most important works. Will always be my most important work. But when Beeple happened, I was like, oh, like, dang, like everybody knows about it. Why is my dad talking about NFTs?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then I guess from there, then after Beeple, then when does Aku get created?
Aku was launched February 21st, 2021.
Okay, so right before that all.
Yeah. I don't remember when I remember Beeple's drop on Nifty Gateway, like the did.
I'm talking about the Christie's. I'm talking about the Christie's $69 million.
Yeah, I can't remember. That might have been after February, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in March. Yeah.
Yeah. So Aku was February 21st.
Okay. Amazing. Okay. The next question, and this is can you still remember what your first NFT was? What did you buy? Usually a lot of people buy NFTs to learn about them. So what did you learn from it? And do you even still own it?
One of my first NFT. I don't remember. I don't know if this is my first or not. I don't remember, but I just remember it sticks out in my mind because Jimmy.eth, he sent me this. His crypto, his Avastars. He sent me an Avastars. And I still have them. Like, and I thought that was really cool because he was one of my first collectors on Super Rare, and he sent me one. And I remember he sent me one that kind of had the baseball hat, and then one for my wife, and it was just like, I was over the moon. I was like, dang, like we got something. Like he just gave us something that has value to it. Like this is really special. Yeah. And obviously that's like an historic project. So yeah, that was really special.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Okay, so here's the exciting one. What are you working on right now? Why it? Why now? And why you? And I'm sure some of the community members are really excited about hearing what's coming next.
Yeah, so I mentioned at the beginning of the year getting it more into sports and that kind of. I spent 5 years away from the game because I wanted to establish myself as an artist that wasn't like some gimmick, like, oh, this guy's a baseball player artist type energy. I wanted to be this dude's a dope artist, and so I'm back into that. And so there's gonna be some stuff this year getting more into sports. It's really, really cool, and that's gonna be a really amazing project. Can't really get into it, but it's gonna be. Is really, really dope.
It's sports mixed with Web3. Yeah.
Mixed with art. Mixed with Aku. Yeah. Developing the story. So over the past couple of years, I've been working on the Aku story for kids. So like 8, 9, 10-year-olds. But it's really co-viewing. And so finishing that now, like, we're done, but now it's just refining it and getting it right. And that will come out, I think next year. So long-term projects, short-term projects, and then just keep creating. We have a couple other shows. You mentioned shows later this year. Big thing for me is definitely the art side of things, because that's been something that's been very fruitful for us. And as a creator, if you're not creating, you have nothing to talk about. What are we going to talk about if I'm not creating? If I didn't do ComplexCon, we got nothing to talk about, right? So I had the sculpture there, and so that's kind of it's a busy year, but like we had a busy Q1 already, and it was very successful from a reach and business perspective. And so now it's just continuing on with that path.
Awesome. Okay, and this is the final question, and I'm very excited to hear your answer. So over this whole time, last few years, it seems like such a long time ago, but you've been on the cover of Time. I mean, Aku's been on the cover of Time magazine. You've been in Variety talking about getting shows made. You've done all these art gallery events. So you've been in the media spotlight for nonstop for so many years. But I always wonder, like, what is a misconception about Web3 that people seem to always ask you about, right? Because I'm sure even your family will ask you questions like, because there's a media coverage in the States, especially, you know, FTX just, our SBF recently just got his sentence, right? So there's all these, hopefully that's like the closing of this whole world. But what is something that people always talk to you about who are not in the industry that you think, oh, I'd like to change this mindset of people thinking like this?
It's a really good question. Because you know what's wild is, you're right about, you said US, you mentioned that. When I was in Hong Kong, I met a lot of Aku holders, like just on some, like just randomly, right? Like some in the airport or, you know, at ComplexCon. I was like, wait a second, like this is more than I was doing in like United States.
Yeah.
And I was unfamiliar with the reach of Web3 or what, even what I was doing over there. And I was like, oh, wait a second, like there's something over here in Hong Kong and Asia that seems like you guys are far beyond
100%.
the level of understanding.
There's no government regulations like putting people in jail and stuff like that about it, right? So it's a bit more open, and it's also a very young culture. And there's definitely no stigma around NFTs here, as there is when you mention NFT in the States, people like, you know, pull out the Holy Cross and throw holy water on you like you're some kind of monster, right? So that's why I always think it's so interesting about that. And so that's why I want to know from like your perspective, like, you know, a lot of people come talk to you, especially from the art angle.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question, because like I'm trying to think about my day to day. Like my day to day is mostly I'm involved in, you know, whether it's the sports side of things, and that's been heavy recently, but in the art side, the fine art side of things, Aku's kind of Aku plays in the lanes of his universal. Like it works as a physical piece, it works as a story. So people kind of just really like my Web3 side of things, because they see it as like a piece of art that I created that is like a part of that ecosystem. But I would think that the misconception that it is highly financialized in a way that's like it's not really about, to the outside perspective, it's not really about, it's all about making money and flipping and things like that. And I don't think that's necessarily the case, especially when I was meeting people and holders in Hong Kong. It was just the excitement and the energy, and them telling me stories about, hey, like I got my first Aku and then I started my own business because you inspired me to do this, and I got an Aku and inspired me to do this. And I was like, that's what this is about. Yeah. This is a piece of art that now inspired you. There's a marketplace element of it, but there's also people that can sell my paintings and my sculptures too. And I think that's kind of a misconception, is that it's a financialized instrument. And I think there's more to it than that. There's more impactful layers to it.
Awesome. I agree. Fantastic.
Great.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming to the show today. And will we see you again in Asia this year?
I think I was saying this on the way home, and I had a lot of great, you know, meetings and things out there. I was like, and I was just really interested in how Aku would it resonate with a different place. I'd never really gone anywhere else with him, and it really resonated. I felt like, and it's like, this is the energy and the love that was shown out there. I really want to make sure that we stay grounded in that area, because I felt so much love and connection over there in a way that I haven't really felt in a while. And I was like, this is really special here. So yeah, I'm coming back a lot. So hopefully y'all don't get tired of me.
Sweet. I'm glad that we gave you more of the fuel to your passion, and we'll see you again in Asia.
Yeah, I love it.
Don't forget to follow us on GM Show Official, Memeland, Stakeland, and on our host and guest, and we will see you again next week.
Thanks, man.
Baby.